All right, if you've ever dipped your toes into learning Spanish, you have absolutely hit this wall. Where on earth does the adjective go? You know, sometimes it's before the noun, sometimes it's after, and just moving it can change the entire meaning of what you're saying. Well, today, we're going to crack that code.
So let's start with a little story, a classic example. Imagine you're introducing a friend. In English, it's pretty straightforward. But in Spanish, oh man, where you put just one word can completely change the story you're telling.
And this really gets us to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? How can one single, simple word totally alter the reality of what you're trying to say? Okay, so here it is. This is our mystery in action. On one hand, you have un viejo amigo. That means a longtime friend, someone you go way back with, you share history. But then, if you just swap those words to un amigo viejo, now you're talking about an elderly friend. Same words, but a universe of difference. To really get why this happens, we have to start with the basic rule. We need a baseline, right? A kind of golden rule. This is the placement that's going to be correct something like 90% of the time. So whenever you're in doubt, this is your go-to, your safe bet.
So here it is. In Spanish, the default, the most common, most neutral place for an adjective is right after the noun. Yeah, you're essentially just flipping the English order.
For instance, instead of saying the White House, you wouldn't say la blanca casa. Nope. You say la casa blanca. The thing, the casa, comes first, and then you add the description, blanca.
And this pattern just keeps on going. The tall man becomes el hombre alto. You see, the man, el hombre, comes before his quality, alto. It's just a direct, objective description.
This works for plurals too, no problem. Some interesting ideas is unas ideas interesantes. The big takeaway here is really simple. When in doubt, just stick the adjective after the noun. You are almost always going to be correct. But, you know, just being correct is only the start. If you want to sound truly expressive and natural, you need to know when to break that rule. And this is where the magic really happens. So let's dive into when adjectives decide to jump to the front. The first set of exceptions are what we can call limiting adjectives. These are the words that specify which one or how many. Words like this, my, or first, they always come before the noun. This is a simple rule you can just memorize. It's always este libro, never libro este. Okay, now we're getting to the absolute heart of it. Once you move past those limiting words, the choice to move an adjective is all about the difference between an objective, provable fact and a subjective, personal feeling. I want you to think of it this way. Camera versus canvas. When an adjective comes after the noun, it's like a camera. It's just capturing a fact. Un hombre grande is a big man. You could literally measure him. But when an adjective comes before the noun, it's a canvas. You're painting your subjective impression. Un gran hombre is a great man. That's not a fact. That's your opinion of him.
So let's take our camera versus canvas rule and apply it back to our original puzzle. Un amigo viejo is the camera. It's a fact. The friend is elderly. But un viejo amigo, that's the canvas. It's a feeling, an impression about the long history of your friendship. The same thing happens with pobre. Una mujer pobre is a woman with no money. That's a fact. But una pobre mujer means an unfortunate woman. That's a feeling. This pattern of fact versus feeling is the key to all of these words you see here.
Now, you'll also see adjectives placed before the noun just for poetic effect, for a little bit of style. Something like las blancas nieves, the white snows. I mean, we all know snow is white, right? This isn't giving us new information. It's a stylistic choice, a way to emphasize a quality that's already there, and it just makes it sound a bit more literary. All right, here are just a few other quick patterns to keep in mind. Got more than one adjective? They usually just both go after the noun. Easy. Nationality and religion? Those are considered objective facts, so they always go after. And then there are a couple of super common words like bueno and malo that you'll just often hear placed before the noun, almost like they're limiting adjectives themselves. Okay, so that was a lot of theory. I get it. But how do you actually apply this stuff in a real conversation without your brain just freezing up? Let's distill it all down into a simple, actionable guide. Here it is, your 4-step litmus test. First, ask yourself, is this a limiting word, like my or this? If yes, it goes before. Done. Second, am I describing an objective fact, like a color or a size? If yes, it goes after. Third, am I expressing my own subjective opinion or feeling? If so, you should consider putting it before. And finally, the most important step of all, when in doubt, just put it after.
Seriously, that's always your safest bet. So really, it all boils down to this simple formula. Your default mode is always noun plus adjective, but you move that adjective to the front for two main reasons, either to specify which one you're talking about or to share your opinion about it. And that's it. That's the code. Unlocked.
You know, rules and formulas are great to get you started, but your ear is what's really going to make you fluent. So I'll leave you with this final question. Now that you know the code, where will you start to hear these patterns today? In a song, a movie, a conversation you overhear? Just start listening for it, because the more you notice it, the more natural it's all going to become.